this is the news on NTA International. I am Charles Alpha. My name is Charles Alpha. My sign language interpreter is Bamidele. Now the headlines. President Bola Tinubu reaffirms his commitment to enduring peace, assuring Nigerians that perpetrators of recent killing of officers and soldiers on peacekeeping mission in the state will face the law. Terrorism charge, Federal High Court refuses leader of proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, bail. As China-Africa collaboration continues to evolve, advocacy for Nigeria to leverage new opportunities in achieving sustainable growth and development underway. President Bola Tinubu has assured of his commitment to peace while demanding that those who perpetrated the recent killing of officers and soldiers on peacekeeping mission in the state will be made to face the law. Delta State Governor revealed this after briefing the president over the incident. Fielding questions from State House correspondents after the meeting behind closed doors, the governor said the March 14 killing of the military was in contrast with a peace accord earlier signed by the conflicting parties.
It was very sad because Delta State is governed within the tenet of rules of law and decency. So what happened is not in line with what we are doing in Delta State, because I have promised Deltans that I'm going to be governor for all Deltans, and we have been enjoying peace. What is happening now is something that we did not bargain for, but we want to assure everybody that there will be no more attack on the villages. If there's anyone that has happened in the past, we've all agreed. All the security agencies are putting heads together. We're on the same page to fish out the real culprit, because innocent people will not suffer from it. And they have assured that no innocent person will be victimized. The
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has assured Nigerians that relevant security agencies are at work to unravel and bring to justice the killing of military personnel in Okwama community in Delta State. The minister appeals for calm from those in the affected communities as the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Bola Tinubu, is not overwhelmed by the security situation in parts of the country.
Attack on the nation itself is unacceptable. The President has made it that clear. Of course, this is not something that any nation will condone, but at the same time, as the Commander-in-Chief and as someone who is also very passionate about having a peaceful resolution of every situation, he has asked for calm. He has asked that the community cooperate with the armed forces so that we can fish out those who are the perpetrators of this act. And he has also asked and enjoined members of the armed forces to also limit themselves to only those who are involved in this. Of course, all those involved will not go unpunished.
Salio Gwanara reports that the minister also assured that the security agencies are working for the safe return of all kidnapped victims without the payment of ransom.
And the security agencies are working around the clock to ensure that these children are reunited once again with their family members. They are going to come back. This is a message that the President has always reiterated. It is sad, it is unfortunate, it shouldn't have happened. It has happened. The armed forces are working around the clock. And let me also reiterate the message of Mr. President. The issue of ransom is not something that the President condones. A government would not accept the payment of ransom in any way, form or shape.
Security, the minister reassured, will continue to occupy its place on the priority list of the federal government. Now, still on the killings of soldiers, Senate has condemned the horrific murder of 18 officers and soldiers in Okwama community, Delta State, last Thursday while on a peace mission. The lawmakers also stress that those responsible for the killing must be identified and apprehended to face justice in a fair and transparent legal process. The resolutions were sequel to a matter of urgent public importance raised by Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua. The Senate calls for immediate compensation to families of the slain soldiers as investigations to unravel the circumstances surrounding the tragic incident continues.
The gravity of the recent attacks on military personnel, recognizing their impact on national security and peace, and emphasizing the need for meticulous engagement with civilian communities and regions to foster mutual understanding.
It's not every day, even in a war situation, it's not every day a country suffers this kind of loss.
The military is doing their best. They are doing their best, trying to deal with kidnappers, trying to deal with bandits and so on and so forth, trying to make us safe, keep us safe. Now some people decided to go and murder these people. So I think it's something that we should all condemn, and we should...
Every single culprit involved must be brought out to face the full wrath of the law. So in the course of it, there may be collateral damage. But maybe through our inquiries, if we mix with the communities and try to find out what actually went wrong, we may even assist both parties to reach amicable resolution. But nobody, no country will accept the kind of thing that we have just witnessed.
In the same vein, the House of Representatives has condemned in strong terms the killing of the soldiers who were ambushed last week while on peace mission in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State. Adopting a motion of urgent national importance by Representative Baba Jimmy Benson, the House urged the military to carry out a thorough investigation and unmask the perpetrators of the gruesome murder of the soldiers to face the law.
Acts like this, by the very people the Nigerian armed forces are meant to protect, have the potential of demoralizing the military and affecting the war on insecurity and insurgency, which has so far recorded some huge successes.
And I appeal to our military in the face of this huge provocation to please observe some international protocol and stop the current burning going on in the community so that investigations can go on and the real culprits are apprehended and brought before justice.
Meanwhile, the FCT Administration has defended its 2024 budget proposal of 1.414 trillion before the House Committee on FCT. The committee called for more accountability from the chairman of the FCT area councils, especially concerning infrastructure in the suburbs of the nation's capital.
If you go to area councils today, there's no roads. You are giving them monies, nothing to show. They come into the main city, they collect revenues, we give them 10%, nothing to show. And in our budget again, we are still giving them projects. Projects over 100 billion now is going to council, or 200. So they need to sit up.
In 2023 to now, as we come on board, with our interaction with the area councils stakeholders, we're able to start construction of 6 roads as identified by the various stakeholders in the various area councils. And those 6 roads will be completed by the grace of God, August, September. And we also provided for 2024 another 6 roads for the area councils as identified by the stakeholders of the various area councils.
In other news, at least 10 people were killed in a wealthy suburbs of Haiti's capital, with reports of looting and theft of electricity equipment as gangs tighten their grips on the city. From Akpan reports.
Said at least 10 dead bodies which litter the streets of upscale Passionville on the outskirts of Port-au-Prince were evacuated by ambulance. Authorities are yet to comment on the events surrounding the deaths. Gunfire and looting were reported in nearby area of La Boule, while the streets around Pétionville were deserted. Meanwhile, the EDH electricity service said several stations had been attacked with cables, batteries and documents stolen. Armed gangs who have been increasing their presence in recent years took advantage of the absence of Prime Minister Ariel Henry earlier this month to escalate violence, attacking infrastructure, including police stations and government offices. Under international pressure and stranded in Puerto Rico, the unelected Henry announced his resignation pending the appointment of a council and temporary replacement a week ago. However, the Transition Council is yet to be appointed amid disagreements by some of the groups putting forward representatives. A U.S. State Department spokesperson said the council's membership could be finalized very soon. Over the weekend, UN Children's Agency UNICEF said one of its containers of essential items for maternal, neonatal and child care was stolen from Haiti's main port, while international presence in Haiti has declined with rising insecurity. Similarly, the United Nations, US and Canadian embassies have withdrawn staff. The Philippines PNA State News Agency said it would repatriate at least 63 of 115 nationals and was looking for options such as chartering a flight as commercial flights have been suspended. Around 17,000 people left the Port-au-Prince metropolitan area last week, according to UN estimates. Many of those had already been displaced. Neighboring countries have been bolstering their borders as plans for an international intervention, which Haiti's government requested in 2022 and ratified by the UN nearly 6 months ago, remains on hold. Frama Pani, NTA News.
And back in Africa, demonstrators for and against female genital mutilation, FGM, gathered outside Gambia's National Assembly building as lawmakers vote to advance to the next stage in the amendment of the law. From Apanya again reports.
The parliamentarians are voting in a highly controversial bill that seeks to lift a ban on the practice which has been in place since 2015. Pro-FGMN lawmakers claim the bill violates citizens' right to practice their culture, while activists say repealing it will undo years of progress. Almame Giba, the lawmaker who introduced the bill, said during the debate that it also seeks to uphold religious loyalty and safeguard cultural norms and values. He added that a ban on female circumcision is a direct violation of the citizens' right to practice their culture and religion.
Female circumcision is a direct violation of citizens' right to practice their culture, religious, and guaranteed by the 1997 Constitution. Honorable Speaker, given the Gambia predominantly Muslim population, and the law is inconsistent with the aspiration of the majority of the people, should be reconsidered.
Activists and rights organizations say the suggested legislation reverses years of progress and risks damaging the country's human rights record. Divya Srinivasan from a women's rights NGO said there is the inherent risk that is just the first step and could lead to rollback of other rights, such as the law on child marriage, and not just in the Gambia, but in the region as a whole.
We are telling them that let them not repeal this law because it has health complications to the women and girls of this country.
Lawmakers voted 42 in favor and 4 against to send the bill to a parliamentary committee for at least 3 months for further scrutiny before it returns for a third reading.
This bill is against the interests of this country, and my position is this bill should be killed.
Anti-FGMN activist Jaha Dukure, who herself underwent the practice and watched her sister bleed to death following the procedure, said to hear mainly men speak on behalf of women and speak about what should happen to the bodies of women is most disheartening.
I mean, I would have loved to see them kill the bill, but at the same time, sending it to committee is a chance for the Human Rights Committee as well as the Women's Committee and the Health Committee to come out with evidence-based research to say why this practice is harmful.
She says, as a woman who has lived with this practice, it is the most heart-wrenching thing to watch. Frama Pani, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA. Thank you for staying with us. As China-Africa collaboration continues to evolve, the need for Nigeria to leverage new opportunities in achieving sustainable growth and development has been advocated. This was at a one-day media dialogue on China-Africa cooperation held at the China Cultural Center, Abuja. Chukunonsongwabweze reports.
The seminar, which is at the instance of the China Media Group and University of Abuja, presented another important platform for stakeholders to interact and exchange viable ideas on the way forward for China-Nigeria and indeed Africa cooperation that will be mutually beneficial to all.
We will continue to work together to develop new quality productive forces and develop a new development pattern. Keep moving forward and integrate the Chinese dream with Nigeria dreams in order to realize the aspiration of all Nigerians.
One of the strategies we have put in place now is to create a new center. We call it Innovation Hub and Creative Technologies. And we're asking young people constantly to come and think through and bring about innovation. Create a product, create an application. Create a software, deal with issues that resolve problems that are common to the various communities that you come from.
I am delighted to announce that the Voice of Nigeria is actively working towards introducing Mandarin language to its list of broadcasting languages. This initiative aims to bridge linguistic barrier, fostering cultural exchange, and deepening people-to-people ties between our nations.
With the theme Enhancing China-Africa Cooperation in New Quality Productive Forces to Realize High-Quality Growth, participants drawn from the media, academia, political class, as well as government establishments made contributions on ways of deepening the already existing relationship in line with China's Shared Prosperity Initiative.
There should be a change in the engagement whereby we will expand not only natural resources, but we should go beyond only the natural resources to cooperation into new sectors such as manufacturing, services, and technology.
Inclusive and green development, new productive forces and high-quality growth, trade and investment, as well as global peace and harmony were other topics discussed at the roundtable session of the seminar. Chukunonsongwabweze, NTA News.
Humanitarian chiefs across the world have outlined the need for a fundamental shift in delivering humanitarian assistance, advocating greater understanding of the needs of crisis-affected populations and a more proactive approach. The call was made at the 2024 European Humanitarian Forum co-hosted by the European Commission and Belgium in its capacity as presidency of the Council of the EU. Haman Jabani tells us more.
The forum is taking place in the context of sharply increasing humanitarian needs, changing geopolitical realities, and shrinking humanitarian space. The event offers an opportunity to further strengthen the cooperation and partnership among countries affected by crisis, donors, international stakeholders, EU, and its member states. It is believed that global humanitarian needs have reached unprecedented levels. In 2024, nearly 300 million people around the world will need humanitarian assistance and protection due to conflicts, climate emergencies, and other drives. The forum is exploring and addressing the implication of the current, most pressing humanitarian crisis, including relevant interaction of humanitarian aid with other key sectors and policy areas. In addition, the forum brings together local actors with the objective of jointly propose innovative and more suitable solutions to contemporary humanitarian challenges. Some of the humanitarian actors say funding should be a shared responsibility and there is need to increase and broaden donor base going beyond the European Union, and it like minds as global outreach effort should not be limited to funding alone.
The lifeboat of humanitarian aid is increasingly helpless against the growing tsunami of humanitarian need.
It is our duty of all of us to provide adequate funding so that basic services can be provided to civilians in conflict all over the world.
In Ukraine, Russia shows no respect for international humanitarian law neither. 14 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance.
Across the world, civilians and humanitarians are being killed in unconscionable numbers.
Humanitarian action is increasingly instrumentalized and discredited, including in the digital space.
A session at the forum looked at Northwest Nigeria neglecting a humanitarian response in a fragile context where the forgotten humanitarian crises in Sokoto, Zamfara, and Katsina states were highlighted. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
On food sufficiency, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, has pledged to commit more resources to boost rice and cassava production in the country. This came to the fore as the IFAD's vice president visited farming communities in Enugu State. Musa Babali reports.
This rice plantation is located in Nenwe community in Aniru local government area of Enugu State. Most of the farmers working on the farm are women and adopt the local know-how in rice farming. Their yields over the years have been poor when compared to the national average of yield per hectare. In 2022, the International Fund for Agricultural Development exposed them to modern farming techniques, and today their yields have increased and their social and economic well-being have also improved. Similarly, they are encouraged to go into dry season farming, and they were supported with environmentally friendly water pumping machines. Elizabeth Chukwu says the transplanting and space methodology is a game changer in rice farming.
In this part of the country, they do only rain-fed agriculture, and in VCDP we decided to introduce dry season rice farming because it is more profitable.
And here, IFAD's Associate Vice President Donald Brown is visiting their farm. He says he was encouraged by the confidence he saw in the women despite their age.
I'm very happy that IFAD's support to VCDP is helping women's groups, because they are the people that make the best decisions and the hardest workers in agriculture. Secondly, I'm very pleased to see dry season farming is very profitable for the women's groups, and they get a better price than wet season farming.
And as a state, our governor has given us a mandate that annually we produce nothing less than 1 million metric tons of rice. And that's why we're aggressive in supporting our smallholder farmers, and also praying, making frantic efforts to ensure that we get in the large-scale farmers so that production will, increase as desired.
IFAD, under its value chain development program, is currently supporting 4,000 farmers in 9 participating states. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Senate has approved 1.282 trillion naira as statutory budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration for 2024. The amount shows 135 billion naira increase on the figure submitted in the bill. The approval, as recommended by the Senate Committee on FCT and Area Councils, shows that 768 billion naira is allocated for capital projects, 373 billion naira for overhead, while the sum of 140 billion goes to personnel costs. And the Federal High Court Division in Abuja has refused to admit the leader of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, bail in the terrorism charge against him. The presiding judge, Justice Binta Nyako, declined to grant Kanu bail on the ground that the earlier application he filed had been refused. And up next is a weather report. That is it on NTA International News. I am Charles. Alpha Shegu Ajay has been our sign language interpreter. Thanks for staying with us.